type who you are and where you're from, and if you want to do that, that would be good. To this educational webinar that we've been looking forward to for quite a while. It's the introduction to the PERTTS portal as part of the NHPRC grant. I'll introduce Carol, who's come to us from the Minnesota Historical Society, where she was for 5 years, and we hired her last year to be the subject matter expert for development of the portal for the Best Practices and Tools Subcommittee. And she has moved over to the University of Minnesota, where she's a digital preservation analyst. And if Carol hadn't been working on this project, we probably would not have a portal. She's just done a really great job, so I'm just going to turn it over to her.
All right, thank you, Ann, and hello, everybody. If you can't hear me okay, please just let me know. Type something into the chat or the Q&A. I was told that it was a little quiet, but I'm yelling into the phone right now, so just let me know if you need me to speak up more. I can do that. And we will get started here. So PERTTS portal. PERTTS is kind of a weird title. So where did it come from? Well, PERTTS stands for the Portal for Electronic Records, Training, Tools, and Standards. What it is a hub for information, resources, and training to electronic records. And this wording came from the NHPRC grant specifically, so that's where PERTTS came from. Supported by the NHPRC grant, and this is a slide that just shows you what some of the other deliverables are. So all of the Best Practices and Tools Subcommittee has been doing is supported by this grant, and so the PERTTS portal is the largest of the grant deliverables. And other things include developing 8 educational, informative webs related to electronic records issues, hosting an in-person workshop about the portal and its contents, which will be held August 12th and 13th in Washington, D.C. in relation to the SAA annual meeting. And also, grant supports the development of the State Electronic Records Program, or SERP Framework. And work is also available through the portal, so we'll talk a little bit more about that as we move forward here. At any time, please just type them into the Q&A or the chat, and I will try to address them. Otherwise, there'll be time at the end for questions, so we will back to them if we miss anything. Been doing. So over the past year and a half, the subcommittee has been working on various components related to the portal. This included determining what type of information should be in the portal, define portal requirements, how it should function, and defining the major sections of the portal and collecting the information that goes in the portal. So it started in early 2013. The site itself on the website was developed for us in September, October of 2013. And we were able to play with the portal online, being able to add resources, being able to add content to the portal. And it went public on July 1st. So it's live for 21 days, but continues. We want feedback. We want your information. Hear from you. And so we'll talk about this as we move forward of how you can help make the portal more useful for your needs. So Resource Center homepage. This is what the new Resource Center homepage now looks like. It looks a little funny, a little scallopy in here. I've cut out an edge. But as part of the portal development, the Resource Center homepage was included in this work. So Resource Center has been included in this new Resource Center homepage. Materials that People were using the old Resource Center for people going to that topic section or the state section and looking for specific resources on various topics. Those included in here. So you can see the state section here or this topic section. Those down lists would show you those old resources. What we're going to talk about today is a completely new aspect of the, sorry, I'm trying to get my little thing here. Complete aspect of the Resource Center, but you'll find all information that was in that old Resource Center in this new one. It's just divided up a little bit differently. And pages under like the emergency preparedness section here or grab section are under development. All information is there. We're just trying to make it look easier for you and easier to find. So if you can't find anything that used to be in the Resource Center and you're having problems, just contact Becky. She'll be able to help you with that. We're going to look at right now is the electronic records section. So this section here is the PERTTS portal. We leave out emergency preparedness and TRABs as two other major categories, but we're going to focus on a records section here. The home page for the electronic records section. So if you clicked on either the header that said electronic records or on the green bar that said electronic records, you would get to this electronic records homepage. The page itself also includes three major sections, called out in green. It includes the education and training section, the SERP Framework, and the resources section. And the resources section, like I was saying before, is different than those state resources and those topic resources that you might have been used to seeing in the old Resource Center. But there are sections on this page as well that implement these larger groups. So there's kind of an other topic section, a glossary, and a case study or an example page. And so we're going to walk through all of these today to give you a general overview of what's in the portal. And then we'll go through these in a lot more detail in the August workshop. Forward, the first section to talk about is the education and training section. And this provides links to educational resources and products. So there are recordings and or slides of the SERI webinar series can be found in here. There's links to the resources from the Introductory and Advanced Institutes that has been holding. The Advanced Institute links will be added after October, so after the second round has been completed. And there's self-directing training modules, which we'll talk about in more detail in a minute. Links to other educational and training opportunities through other organizations such as SAA or ARMA or DO, the Digital Preservation Outreach and Education Program through the Library of Congress. Directing training modules specifically addresses another grant deliverable. Guides that walk you through how to use a tool or how to implement a process. These have been organized on the web pages by activity or function. Multiple guides available for each. There's guides for authentication integrity processes, format conversions, file duplication detection, file property identification, file renaming, and accessioning processes, and metadata processes. Walk through these. We're going to do an online demo, but you have resources or guides how to do anything that you do on a daily basis working with electronic records. We'd love to add them to the portal. Fall into one of these categories, great, we can add it. If they don't fall into one of these categories, we can create a new one. You know, there's something missing from here that you guides on. You know, so just be thinking about that. If you've got stuff to share, we want to make it available. framework. What is it? The SERP section has information about 15 different framework elements. A lot more detail about the SERP framework elements at the DC workshop. But and for consistency's sake, these 15 elements are based on the assessment that state archives have been following, which in turn is based on the digital preservation capability maturity model. Get more detail at what those are when we do the demo. The framework section in general has a home page that describes what the SERP framework is and background information, as well as 2 separate pages for each framework element. And so the page of each element really defines what the element is and then lists the levels that you're used to seeing on that self-assessment. The second related page provides details on how to move between those levels and that can be taken to increase your capabilities within that framework element. Resources that you can go to on how to make that possible. The related additional frameworks topics, this was kind of my other topics. Pages that were interest from you, they were based on comments made in webinars from the institutes, and they are from areas where feedback was given on the SERP frameworks. These items allow us to address topics not specifically addressed in the framework section, and it gives us a place to be able to expand on concepts that we are concerned about. They're formatted a little bit differently than the SERP framework, and what they do is they include a brief summary on what the issue is and provide an example from a state program. And this section is related to the case studies and examples to look at as well as we go through. Section is currently a separate resource portal related specifically to records management and preservation of electronic records. Services that were available in that old resource center are still available at the state and topic section, but these are categorized differently. They're categorized by type. Listed here, there's education and training, which is or something that tells you how to do something. It could be it could be a video, guidelines, or best practices, versus standards have been called out separately. A standard is like so standard, something that has been de-standard, where our policies and guidelines and best practices are things that we're really doing and things that we're helping move our programs along. The tool category is for a specific tool or a system or a service that we can use. And a resource links into another web page that can assist you on finding information about a certain topic, or it's a conglomerate of resources themselves. And it is a resource that can provide you as a starting point for research. You're not really sure what it is you're looking for, but it provides a larger context than rather just us pointing to one specific document. Resources are in the portal. There's both basic search and advanced search. And narrow your search down to a single entry, you're provided with information of the resource as well as a direct link to the resource itself, so you can go to that. On the page is a glossary, and the glossary includes terms and abbreviations that are related to the management of, preservation of, and access to digital materials. I compiled these from a variety of sources, and when we walk through the glossary, I'll show you the list of 6 different sources that I pulled these from. But it's a place you can go to specifically for electronic records definitions. section on the electronic records page is this case studies and examples page. It's currently organized alphabetically, and these examples answer people's questions that they're about the framework elements themselves. So they provide more descriptive examples about what terms might mean, or an example about how somebody might be accomplishing something. Examples are linked to on the framework element it relates to. Also a hover link, which I'd like your feedback on to see if you like that or not, and I'll show you that. And that's provided in case you don't want to link back and forth between the case studies page and the framework page that you're on. So that too. And so I'll go through hands-on demo so you can see this instead of looking at screenshots. So we'll try this works here. All right, so share my screen. Okay. Everybody can see my screen here. I can't see the comments anymore. Just type something in the chat to let me know that you see a screen. That would be great. I don't want to continue. Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is the home page. There, can you see my arrow when I'm pointing or no? I see my arrow. Becky, do you know if they can see my arrow?
Yes, Carol, we can see your arrow.
Okay. So you're crazily drawing on the screen. Okay. So in the home page, all of this links to the Resource Center homepage. This home link links to the main COSA website, to create a new account, which we'll talk about, and a login link if you already have a login. The site search the entire COSA website, so it's not just searching the Resource Center. So you're looking for a specific resource, this probably isn't the search that you want to be doing. I'll show you the Resource Center itself. Different headers. There's drop-downs on some of them that you can go to direct links. Each tab and the Topics tab are the ones that look familiar. These are the same field you saw before. We're not going to go over this, but here's the state map that people like looking at to find resources. But we are going to just at the electronic records section. So like I said before, you can click here, you can click down here. You can click on this rotating image to take to the specific project that you're looking for. And so there is one for electronic records that you could click on. I think it's the next one. So if I click on the image, take me to the home for the electronic records. So looking through the same thing I just briefly told you before, we're going to go through these main sections and through the sections on the side. So education and training. So all of the main sections on the sidebar at a page. It'll open up the page that you are currently looking at. All of the main sections here have a home page that kind of defines on the page and what you can find there, with links to content unfit or content that is going to help you information you're looking for. So like I was saying, that there's information on the series webinar. So here's the webinar schedule listed here, and then there's also, it opens up another subpage here, or is the most recent recording, as well as past webinars in alphabetical order. So if you wanted to go back and try to find something, there's PDFs or recordings based on what system we were using. So you can just click on those and it either downloads a PDF or opens it up in a new window. So you can go and find those. The Electronic Records Institute's information, this is the home page for that. You can also find information on the introductory page, so advanced. So the page has all of the different resources that the people who attended it have. Some were recorded, they're put on here, otherwise the PDF presentations are available. And the advanced ones will go up probably in November. The selected training module section. The description on what these are. And so the selected training modules were supposed to be a tool that staff could use to be able to learn how to do something new, learn how to do a tool, or learn more about a concept. And so what we've done is just categorize things that people have had issues with or concerns about, wanted more information on. So these are some of the topics we heard about. There's these different categories. So just clicking on one or clicking over here to the specific topic. Each of these pages links a tool or a process here in bold out to different user guides. So one tools might be, this for Bagger, the North Carolina State Archives created a user guide. So if you click on the user guide, it opens it up and you scroll through to see how they were using Bagger. If you want to look at what somebody else is doing, Carleton College also has information on how they were using it. So you can click through this page. Archives also reviewed Bagot and Bagger, and this is the information that they made available. What's interesting about these is that there's a lot of different tools out there. There's a lot of different ways to do something. We all know that we are all different. We do things the same way. These are just examples of what other people have done, and hopefully these tools give you a starting place and help you out what's going to work for you and what's not going to work for you. So these are just kind of examples that you can follow through and look at. People talk about, if you want to have a forensic workstation, do you need one or not? Processes. University of Hull wrote up about what you need for a forensic workstation and what tools and processes they were using within the nation. So it gives you a starting point. Through some of these other ones, you can get an idea for what's in here. Different tools in here. File duplication. There's some program that does this. There's also a file program called Duplicate File Finder, which finds duplicate files. Forms. These were all written by the Minnesota State Archives on processes that they were doing that workflow. The examples, there are tools to do these conversions. These may not standards or your needs. There may be different situations, but it gives you a place to start. All programs look and capture file properties. Here's ingest and accessioning and metadata tools. So if you have something that you want to share for any of these or a new category, please let us know. We would be happy to help you get it available online to us. The TAG or other educational opportunities is just a general for other organizations. So, Society of American Archivists and International, all the other organizations that have themselves, place can go to find more education and training. If you have another organization that you go to regularly, they would be a good fit in here, please let us know. We can add it in as well. SERP Framework. This was, besides the resources in here, this is probably the second largest largest category in the portal. This framework is try to help state archives increase their scores in the self-assessment that they've been taking. About the levels, it talks about how to get between the levels. This is not the page it was earlier. So this is interesting. There's 15 different elements. Here's what they're listed down here. Earlier this morning, there were 2 different pages listed after this that said definite details. We will see there's some old, I've already seen some other old pages in here, so that comes me. But you'll find them on the sidebar here. If you click through these, you can just get an idea for what's on each of these pages. So policy, on the sidebar, these frameworks are listed in the order that they're listed in the assessment. So that is the logical reason for this order, is because this is how you might work through something. Policy is the first listed in the SERP framework and the self-assessment. It shows the definition listed on the self-assessment as the levels listed self-assessment. There is more resources that typically relates to this policy framework element. And there's also a link to more information. So more information on this topic. So if we click either here or the policy details page, on the definition again, you're shown a link to the policy resources. From level 1, so if you want to skip level 1, you can figure a lot of these. So through these, there isn't necessarily a whole lot of guidance that can be given. It's just something you need to do. So some of these are just new to resources that's going to help you. But if you scroll down, like I'm guessing this link is not going to work because this looks like an old page. This will work. This assessment link should link to like 6 or 7 resources, not 245 of them, like it is. But down to the bottom of any of these detail pages, there's a helpful hint section. So things you might want to consider when looking at this framework element. There may be resources that are pulled out specifically on how to start a policy. There were some policy webinars given by SERI and sample policies. These detail pages looks a little bit different. So jump to the electronic record survey. So it's bigger because each level has 2 divisions in it. Some of them have like 6 in each one. So these can be long, but the page just defines what's on the page, links to the resources, and it links to the details page. This one's really old, so I apologize, but there's to the resources, to get between the levels, hints, how one talks about file formats at risk. So define at risk, what is it? You know, what do you need to think about? So here's some questions to ask yourself. Here's an example from Tennessee that says how they define risk. Here's some resources that you can go to. And then here's just a chart that talks about the levels and it is that they're looking at when you're surveying your record. It's different. Free to click through these and just see what this look like. I'm guys dizzy. But that is framework pages. If we do the mission, this related or additional framework topics, these then that complements the framework topics are not directly addressed within the SERP framework topics. State Archive staff identified to be areas of interest. So people had questions about these. People were looking for information from their colleagues on what things they needed to think about. And it's just a list of what is on. So there's 2 in here right now. Gives a brief summary about what you'll find under each one. And if you click on it, it gives you more information. So we need to think about for records management and preservation with your IT architecture. How do you talk to your IT department? Do you have an IT department? What are some of those things you need to think about? Understand your system requirements and how are those going to affect your technology choices and some resources that might be you. And under here is the preservation plans and processing workflows. The Minnesota State Archives has been working on creating preservation plans for each of their collections and made a document available that are in their preservation plan. So in an Access database for a single collection, all information is gathered. And you can kind of scroll through and see what those fields are. And it's for you. Fields may or may not be important to you when you're trying to collect information, but it may be something to think about of what you need, what you might be missing, what the State Archives might be missing, and you can kind of work from each other and from what other people are doing. This also shows you tools they're using and what document to help look at different things. Other states and organizations have also documented their workflows. So if you have a workflow that you want to share, write up a little blurb explaining it. Carleton College also has made theirs available online. So this is their workflow with details. Workflow is definitely an area that people want to see examples for. So if you have something written down, that would be great if you could share it. The case studies and examples section. I said before that the related additional other frameworks topic is kind of related to the studies and examples page. If I click on this one, this is just that alphabetical list of examples to help define what's in the SERP framework and give specific examples. So people looking at the self-assessment want to know what is AIP, what we need to put P structure that's going to increase my scores. The way it's written, it talks about, you need an OAIS compliant preparation system. Another way to look at it, what information do you really need to complete? Illinois has documented and written a blog post about what it is they consider IP. Other questions about or we're looking for examples on are firewalls, how METs can assist preservation metadata, role access, just examples of how different states are using role-based access in their systems. And where I said we're back and forth between these page and what it relates to. So firewall relates to security detail level 2. So if I click on it, I can go to security level detail 2. And so it talks about you have your records protected by a comprehensive firewall. Okay, what does that mean? Give me an example. And so link brings to those case studies examples. This hypertext shows that same information. It's not pretty, but you don't have to leave the page. So if you have comments about that, please let me know. This then brings me back to that case study example. For METs, it brings you to the preservation page. There was a lot of, well, Yep. So then to hover over text for that one. And then back. You can role-based access. There's a lot of information in here. Hover over text for this one. We just have basic page and give the example, so you would have to jump to the link and do the full thing. But these are that people had questions about that we were trying to define in more detail. Jump to the glossary. The glossary that you scroll forever to see what's in here. You jump down to any letter that you would like to. Back up to the top. The numbers after each entry link to the source list. So it's the list of sources that was to create this list. You can click on them to get to the self. If you see something in here that, or something added to it, we can definitely add to this list. But it is a long, sorry to make you sick and did here. It is a long list. There's a lot of information in here. I'm not even halfway to the page and we're at D. Sorry. Move on. We get the resources section. And this is the resources of the resource, the PERTTS resource portal. Is, like I said, for a basic search and an advanced search. Get to the home page for the resources section is the basic search here. As list of all of the resources. So there's 245 resources. Resource portal right now. In alphabetical order, you can sort by resource. So I can sort alphabetical or backwards alphabetical order. Those are those 5 categories talking about, whether it's a web resource, policy or guideline, standard, tool, or education. You can sort by type if you would want to, in alphabetical order by brief description, and you can sort by comments. There's a commenting feature on all of these resources. So if you would like to tell people that this is an excellent resource or this is the policy and guideline that we follow, you can do that. A suggestion of this tool works well with this tool. And put in here, we can make comments on, and we'll set to you. But if we do a search, I'm just going to see what happens here for Droid. Search by keyword right now and click the search button. Or resources. These to the page for that specific resource, so it tells me what it is, it gives me a brief description, tells who created it, it provides me with the resource link. The topics I'll show you when we get to the advanced page are related to this resource. The framework element, these links go back to the preservation metadata or integrity or technical expertise SERP page. If on, let's see, if we jump back to the technical expertise page, see all of the resources linked to technical expertise. There are 50 of them. All I had to do was click on this link to get to any resource that is linked up with technical expertise. If I search criteria, I can search for any number of resources. So I want to find only the standards. There's 22 standards in the portal. If I search for Droid, there is a tool listed in here that is Droid. Source type, if you type in a keyword and select a resource type, you're going to find something that matches both of those. If to type in Droid and a framework element, so let's do integrity, it's something that matches either one of those. So it's or search, it's not an search on the basic page. You can jumped up to 57. Right now that you clear the search criteria, just so you start from scratch. Sometimes it's adding on, if working on some things in the back end still. Some adds on your new search criteria, sometimes it doesn't. So the search is a little tricky right now. We're trying to clean up some of those bugs. If searches and you're not finding what you're expecting, or if it's acting funny, please let us know. We want to try to make this as user-friendly and fun as possible. If I want to do a more advanced search, I can click the Advanced Search button and specify, do I want my search to match all of my criteria or some of my criteria? So you can have a little bit more control over what it's going to find. So if I want to type here and say match all of my criteria, and so down here is the SERP framework elements again. Now I not get 58, I got the 4. To the advanced search, I need to click the advanced search button. The search results always return you to the basic search page. Search page, the key to the resource type this is what's on the basic search page. There's the topics section. Topics page are linked to the SERP framework elements, but are other topics of interest. So, you know, something specifically about passwords or something specifically about cloud computing, which is not really covered under the modules or under the framework elements. You can do search for cloud computing and see what's up. At this one, there's a comment. Unclick that first. I know the comment, and that this is a good resource for learning about cloud storage. Should be button tells me to log in if I want to submit a comment, because you can only submit a comment if you are logged in. So I'm going to show you what it looks like to log in. Button. And your username. My account page. So that tells me if I've submitted any comments. And my favorite resources are, we didn't see that before. I didn't see the star. These are all resources that I've tagged as being my favorites. So the little star on the resources that you can click to modify. Go. So here, favorites didn't show up because I wasn't signed in. So now looking at the resources homepage, I know favorites marked. You can toggle them on and off if you want, or by clicking the little stars. I wanted to add a comment. This is different right now. This is an old page. I would click here to submit a comment. You can just comment and I can hit submit. This comment does not show up right away because it's to be approved. Administrator would go through and they would approve comments. It's showing up. print any of these resources, there's a print button. A print button, and it just gives you, one pages depending on what's on the page for you to print. Back to the home page. Searching. Search is definitely not perfect. Know what you think, but there are kind of all the major features. So I'm going to go back into my slides here. I can find it. Slides. So that was our demonstration. If you have questions or comments, please know. But we're trying to do a review on the portal. We have a Google form available that walks you through a testing script and to complete specific activities and answer questions about that. It also has a usability survey at the end of it. The testing script walks you through a scenario, asks you many questions about did it work for you, did it not work, what did you do, and the usability survey asks questions about the look and feel and ease of use of the. And if you only want to do the usability survey, they're all on the same form, but it's the last page, so you could just click through things are required fields. And when you are doing script, there are a few questions that relate to you having an account. So if you have an account, you would need to do that because there talks about clicking through the favorites, adding comments. Please, if you do have the time, walk through this exercise and let us know what you truly think. In a big phase and really want your feedback as we determine, what changes we want to make and want to pursue moving forward. We want to hear from you. Do you have any questions about this? Do you have suggestions or comments? Do you have additions that you want to add? Do you have additional resources that you can't find? Do you have a self-directed training module idea? Do you want to help create one? Do you have something available now? Do you have, case studies or examples or other topics that you want to have added here? Send them to me, and we'll be happy to put them in the portal. This webinar really just covered of the portal. PERTTS Portal Workshop in Washington, D.C. will go into more depth about the SERP framework and the resources sections. And then also going to hear from colleagues about what they're doing with their electronic records programs. The word is open to all State Archive staff, and so we hope that you can join us. We're curious to know how many people on this call will be attended. So I think Becky has a poll that she do. If we could just click yes or no to kind of give a general idea of who's coming. Our vote. Contact information. On the contact information and Becky's contact information. Questions about the portal. Both of us currently are administrators, so we can help you find things, add things to the portal that you want to see. And Ann and Pat are the best practices and tools subcommittee chairs, so if you have anything else you would like to talk to them about, please feel free to contact them. And as we're moving forward on this, please, let us know if you have questions or comments. Anything that you have here now. If you have questions after this webinar, please feel free to contact me, send me an email, and we can talk about things if you have questions or comments. We'd hear from you. Thanks. anybody has questions, you can type them into the chat, or I don't know if by people or not.
Ask your question. Just raise your hand. There should be a little hand raise button 10D panel. I'll unmute you so you can ask your question.
And Glenn asks if articles and blog posts are linked out to the websites, and yes, they are. Answering your question now that it went away. But so resources, this will link directly to a website or blog post or specific resource, whether it's a PDF or not. Keep it up to date, Glenn. We worked out a link checker to, find dead links or not. I'm not sure how successful that's going to be. Otherwise, it is something that we're talking about with the Best Practices and Tools Subcommittee, how we're going to be able to keep this up to date so we don't have a whole bunch of dead links and that the content stays to us. For distinction on browser compatibility for the site, I've used IE, Chrome, Firefox, Safari. It's pretty for me in all those. There's some administrative differences. But if you are looking at it in different browsers, let us know because we want to be aware of that. But we've been trying to look at it in multiple browsers. I don't know if Becky answered your question down in the question section, if we could get links to the actual tools. And so usually if it's a tool, it's linked back to whether it's, the source code page or a download link page. And so yes, it links you directly to how to get a tool if it's a specific tool. Any other questions? If you're in Washington, D.C. in August, we hope that you will join us to learn more about the SERP framework, more about sources, and give us feedback.